All right, so before we get into it, you know what? No, let's just get into it.
I plugged the mic in, flipped a couple switches and started rhyming. It wasn't right then, but I kept writing, knowing I had to put the time in to earn my stipend. Do your guy a solid one time, subscribe and like this.
So the much long overdue studio update tour that I dropped last week certainly had some harsh words for the Audiofuse 16 rig. Not saying they weren't deserved. I don't like the volume tracking when you get all the way down at low volumes on the volume knob, and I don't like how complex the routing matrix is. That said, the reason I bought it was not its advertised intended purpose. I don't own a whole bunch of synths. I have one, two, three, four. I got a handful, right? But I wasn't having trouble with not having enough I/O to use them all the way I wanted to use them. The reason I bought the Audiofuse 16 rig is because I figured using the routing matrix, I could approximate something like one of those like flock patches or something like that, right? Or the it's another one out there that's equally expensive and cool, you know what I'm saying, by a different company, but that's not what they advertised it for. They didn't say that, oh yeah, plug a mic right in here and get into the routing matrix and work out a mic chain with your 1176 and your LA2A clones, you know what I'm saying, and get that all cracking. The fact that I was able to get that cracking when I was is a testament to how powerful that the machine is. And so maybe I was a little unfair when I had such harsh words for it the other day. I was upset. You know what I'm saying? We get that way sometimes. Since then, however, I've thought of a totally different way to use it, and it's now back in service. You know what I'm saying? Coming off the bench this time, coming off the bench, but playing a whole different position though? What part of the game is that? You know what I'm saying? I'm literally about to try using it as a summing mixer. So remember when I told y'all that the monitor outputs on this joint are mad hot, like crazy hot. You know what I'm saying? And clear, clean, good, clean hot. You know what I'm saying? Right? I don't know why I didn't think sooner to just use it as a mixer. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, so let me back up because it's a wild thought process that brought me here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm about to get off topic for a hot second and kind of stray off on a tangent or five. Try to follow me. Those who do, you will see where I'm going with it when it wrap around. You know what I'm saying? So I've been looking at summing mixers off and on ever since they first came out. I never purchased one and I've never actually tried to use one. And I've never like downloaded the audio files, like the wave files from somebody's A/B blind comparison video and seeing if I could tell the difference. I've never cared that much because from the beginning, I've understood why they're all snake oil. However, that hasn't stopped me from looking at them off and on again and again every time something a little bit different comes out with them. And a part of me is fascinated by the fact that they're still here. And over the years, on and off looking at different summing mixers and seeing what engineers have done with them, imagining things that you could do with them, I have thought of a few ways other than solving a non existent problem where they could be useful. Particularly there's this one by Heritage Audio, the MCM32. Please don't crucify me if I didn't get that name right. That has bussing like a console, and I would imagine you could use it as such. And I've contemplated adding it to my workflow on more than one occasion over the last handful of years or so, just looking at it stuff online, right? But overall, my opinion on summing mixers remains the same. For the vast majority of them, the color that you get comes from the output transformers. And that depth, three dimensionality that people talk about is just phase non-linearities from like crosstalk. You know what I'm saying? You can approximate that in the box. And actually, when I do it in the box, it's much more precise and predictable and customizable. And so I wouldn't even like, and honestly, those summing boxes might do that. You know what I'm saying? Like your placebo is showing for real when y'all get to talk about three dimensionality and stuff in a mix from a box of transformers. But I digress because I have a box of transformers right there that doesn't sum anything. It's just a box of transformers. You know what I'm saying? Now, you got a summing mixer that has input transformers on every channel, or like in the case of that new API jammy, colorful op amps on every input channel, that's a different story. Or, right, give me inserts and direct outs on every channel. And then you know what? While we here, put a tube stage in the signal path of each channel paired. I didn't buy that one either though, so I don't even know why I'm getting excited about it. But I did look at the radio space heater probably more than any other summing mixer to use, not as a summing mixer, but just to route 8 channels in and out as an analog warming device. You know what I'm saying? But at this point, I got, as y'all seen in the studio tour, go watch it. I got enough analog color and warmth and saturation. And like I said, you can do that three-dimensional thing in the box actually quite a lot easier and more effectively, I think. You know what I'm saying? But that brings me to why the 16 rig is now back in service. You know what I'm saying? Rocking number 45 ish. You know what I'm saying? I had this crazy idea to use it as a summing mixer, right? Because while I have the Audiofuse Studio as my main interface, I've got 8 AT channels. I can access 8 of the 16 rigs inputs and outputs via ADAT, right? And so the thought occurred to me the other day, what if I route all 4 of my stereo buses out via ADAT to the 16 rig and then just literally have its monitor outs, them hot ass monitor outs I was talking about, not going to no speakers or nothing, but going to my master bus chain, to my hardware master chain, and then back into the interface, like analog into the Audiofuse Studio, just like you would set up any other summing setup, right? And the beauty of that is now I can use this volume knob that doesn't work very well at low volumes, but works weirdly well at crazily high levels, right? Drive these tubes and transformers as hard as I want. And through the software, I can tweak everything about how hot the input is, how hot the output is, like everything. You know what I'm saying? Pans, levels. I can multi out, you know what I'm saying? Different mixes all over the damn place. And though it's not going to impart any color of its own, like it's not going to give me a greater three-dimensionality of my final mix because of the stems being summed out, right? but it does allow me to route things with no noise. That's the kicker, right? Balanced everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's initially coming from something unbalanced, right? Through all my shit. You know what I'm saying? Pardon me, but it made a whole lot of sense to use it that way. And so my first summing mixer ever is the Arturia Audiofuse 16 rig. And here's the extra added little just icing on the cake, right? Through the software mixer, it's got 4 mono or 2 stereo aux sends. And so I could literally set up 2 stereo buses on the way through this summing path, like summing 8 to 2, like sending 2 out, 2 stereo out to, like, say, I don't know, something that I haven't purchased yet. Gas. Right? And have not only my hardware master chain being fed by these hot ass outputs, but along the way, a couple of inserts for, like, say, maybe a drum bus compressor and maybe a effect compressor for, like, my melody bus, because my vocals are already plenty treated, and I got this new vocal kick and this new vocal new bass that are just outside the frame here that are gonna handle my kick and bass, you know what I'm saying, pretty effectively, which just leaves, you know what, I'm gonna keep that under my hat for a second, because I got something in my mind that might be stupid as fuck, and if I end up going this direction, it's gonna deserve its own video for sure, like, because if I do, moving along. So I'm really here just to sing the praises for a few minutes of the Audiofuse 16 rig, because it's actually been on my mind that I had such harsh words for it, because I was so excited when I bought it, and I've been so crushed 2 separate times when it just was. I won't say it didn't work the way I wanted it to work, because ultimately I did route that signal chain. Y'all saw it. It just was, it didn't work. It didn't integrate into my workflow the way I hoped it would in that way. But through that frustration, I've ended up solving literally all the other parts of my workflow that weren't quite ideal. You know what I'm saying? I could route everything just fine just through the studio, but it didn't give me the options that I have now in terms of affecting the quality and the amount of drive I feed to these analog processors, which is huge. You know what I'm saying? I made a mix with the way I had everything routed last week that is on this channel. Y'all should go check out. It's a song called Too Much, produced by Ilya 2.0. You need to hear that. But I got that final master louder and cleaner than I've gotten any final master of anything ever, with the exception of maybe Lake Effect Flow. And the beauty of that is I was able to get that super loud master like that because I had integrated a couple of these new hardware pieces. And the only track I've ever done that's comparable to that in terms of just being loud and clean, right, is a track that I mixed 100% in the box. I didn't even have external preamps when I did Lake Effect Flow. That was with the Rode NT1A plugged into the Audiofuse studio, and that beat was made with all MIDI instruments, with me performing on the Alesis VI-49. Everything I use to make that shit is within arm's reach of me right here, and none of it is in a rack. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a testament to, like, you really don't need the gear, but the difference is it took me like 4 days to get that mix like that for Lake Effect Flow. It took me like 40 minutes to get that mix like that for Too Much. That's what makes this stuff in this rack valuable to me in a way. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest way, actually, why this stuff is valuable to me, because I can do it without it, or at least close enough to it that where when you go listen to them tracks, you won't hear a difference. You know what I'm saying? And then that brings me to the last thing. I had really, 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 really harsh words for this Roland Aerocaster. Don't get me wrong, it's cheaply made, and if you don't set everything on here within pretty much a sweet spot, it's gonna sound like trash. It's easy as fuck to clip. It's hard as fuck to get a signal in it hot enough without clipping. You know what I'm saying? And none of the cool functions really work. But it does something that the next cheapest thing on the market to do that, they're probably like closer to $1,000 than it is to 500. And this didn't even cost that. So if it broke, I would buy another one. And so I gotta, like, you know what I'm saying? We be harsh on our gear because of what we comparing it to. Like, and we forget about the fact that no matter how much you spent on your studio of gear, until you get your workflow dialed in on it, it ain't right. You know what I'm saying? It just ain't right. This could easily just as easily be some black magic design pro shit that costs $8,000, and I would not be getting a better audio capture into it right now. You know what I'm saying? Or a better final result on this live video than what I'm getting with this, because I wouldn't know how to use that any better than I know how to use this, given the amount of time I've had it and the amount of times I come up here and actually dig into this shit and try to figure stuff out in between trying to get work done. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with the Audiofuse 16 rig, which I've had, is giving me so many headaches, but sounds better than anything I've ever used in that capacity, right? And has more functionality and works and is more rock solid than just about anything other than its predecessor, right? And they don't have really much overlapping feature set, so it's really just all net positive. You know what I'm saying? And once it becomes an extension of my hand, the way this microphone feels, you know what I'm saying? The way certain other things that I've worked with for years or decades feel, all of that confusion from when I didn't understand it be forgotten. Its real limitations will be apparent to me, and obviously they're somewhere beyond where I've taken it so far. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, Audiofuse 16 rig is official if you use it for what they say you're supposed to use it for. And the Roland Aerocaster is a piece of ass, but sometimes you gotta fuck. What can I say?